know, Hong Kong has entered into a third wave of the pandemic. And the government has announced today that schools will be closed again, just as things were looking like they were going to go back to somewhat normal, and schools were scrambling to prepare for end of the year exams. Now, over the last month, I was working with the center in Causeway Bay, helping them do mock exams in preparation, and I've tried in the last 2 years to do my summer camp course, but I honestly didn't have the level of preparation or the marketing channels that I have now. So I thought about it. Should I go again? And I figured, you know what? I have nothing to lose. I am a lot more prepared for it this year than I was last year. And I have been testing out my content. I've been teaching my adult classes. I play tested a lot of the content with students in Kowloon Bay, at Genius Garden in April and May. So I know that they are able to handle the level of the English level required for this. And I wanted to share with you all today my plans. What went into designing this course, what it entails, what students get out of it. Let's switch over to the comments section. I welcome any comments during this presentation. If you want to know more about how this works and helps your kid, because that is the most important thing. Kids are the heroes. I'm just a mentor trying to help them along their way. So let's hide that for a minute. Okay, let's jump into the presentation. So my kids course is called Adventures in English. This is something that I've played around with since February and March, the name of it, but it is an adventure. It is role-playing based storytelling. And as I've done a lot of research over the last year, I know, based on a widely used program called TPRS, Total Proficiency Through Reading Stories, and their method of question circling, I know that this method works. So let's go into that in my presentation. So, the first problem that we all have, okay, what that red dot is, but don't worry about that. Okay, that's take care of that. All right, so the biggest problem that we have with traditional language teaching courses, especially in schools and most centers that are just trying to get your kids to get past an exam, they are just drilling and memorizing grammar. And it has been proven that only 5% of people can effectively learn a language in this way. If you want to be able to be proficient in the language, I'm not talking about complete fluency, although I hope to see my students gain that. I'm talking about being able to successfully communicate. Now, this is the reason why English is the top international language, because it is easily adaptable to different people throughout the world. There's a lot of flexibility. There are a lot of strange rules, but the main point is that the rules are not important. What matters most is that you are able to communicate. So this is the first problem that I'm addressing. Okay. Now, as I've noticed in some of the students that I've been working with, they have Um, Now, I wrote this presentation for a specific center, um, although I thought in the time that I heard the news and I decided to give this presentation, I didn't have time to go and change the presentation, but it didn't matter. Um, Over the last 20 years that I've been teaching English off and on, um, a lot of my observations are the same. Um, some schools, the students have higher English ability than others. Some, for example, the one I worked with in May in June, the students' English level was very close to native. And these are local kids whose parents speak English with them at home. They speak English, they speak Cantonese, they speak Mandarin, all three languages because they get regular exposure to the languages. However, when I went through the mock exam with them, there were a lot of basic grammar rules that they were not getting correct on the test because they haven't developed their ear for the language. And that is where TPRS and comprehensible input comes in, and we'll get to this. So the students don't have a feel for what's right or wrong in a language. In your native language, or if you've reached near fluency in another language, your ear tells you if that person is saying things correctly or incorrectly. I've worked very hard on my English level in Cantonese, but I'm not native. Many times I hear when I say things incorrectly, but I don't catch everything. And I still enjoy when native speakers point that out to me, because that's how I learn. That's how I've gone since 1995 when I first started learning Cantonese, to never have taken a single class on the language. It's just a part of my daily life. Okay. Now, enter the guide. In the story, in all stories, there's a hero. The hero are the kids, or my students. They are the heroes. I'm their guide. I'm the one that's here to help them in their journey. And my tool is what I've been talking about, TPRS, Teaching Proficiency Through Reading and Storytelling. There's the official name. So I've gone through this in many presentations in the past, just talking off the top of my head. Here I have some of the facts in the presentation that you can quickly read through. I'm not going to read it out loud, but I'm going to repeat the ideas that I've been going through over and over again on this on this channel, on my Facebook broadcasts. In the 1970s, a doctor called Dr. Krashen and his associates started researching the most effective way to learn a second language. These were professors of foreign language studies. They went and discovered that our brains learn our first language and the second language and every language after that the exact same way. And that's what they call comprehensible input. You need to get things through your eyes and your ears into your brain that your mind will take time to understand. Then in the 80s, a professor who was teaching Spanish in the US, Dr. Blaine Ray, and at about the same time in Japan, there was a professor teaching English who started taking these ideas from Dr. Krashen and putting it into storytelling and telling stories in a specific way to help their students learn English. And it became very successful, very popular. Okay, these are the benefits that students get from this type of learning method. The vocabulary, they focus on vocabulary that is useful to the students. Unlike, if you go and learn an app through an app on your phone, you learn a second language and it tells you how to um, uh, Duolingo. I'm learning Japanese, and there's this one phrase, "My dog sells hats." Um, it's a really, really ridiculous phrase, even though I understand that it's playing with the grammar patterns that are just taught you. But that's useless language input. Storytelling corrects this. Stories are designed to help students with English, with the language that they need to learn. Okay? Students listen more. They pay more attention because the stories are fun and they get engaged. There is a very important method called question circling, where the teacher in the TPRS method asks questions that place the grammar in different contexts so that the students hear all the different ways that they could say that same thing or its opposite. And through this, because they're having fun, they're not having any pressure, their minds are going to be at ease. Hello, Chen Chen, welcome, welcome. It'll probably take you about 10 seconds for you to hear my answer to your questions, but I hope that if anyone has any questions through this presentation, please ask them. Please don't feel free to ask. Do feel free to ask. Please do feel free to ask. Don't hesitate. That's what I'm trying to say. My mind's going 100 miles an hour. Okay, so this is TPRS. Now, there are advantages and disadvantages, but the advantages are a lot larger than the disadvantages. And it's very interesting, even though this method has been around for 40 years now, almost. The reason why it's not so popularly used is its big competitor sells books, and people that want to make money by selling the books tend to win over and push out people and say, oh, buy our books and we'll teach you how to pass exams and you'll do better in life. But as an expat in Hong Kong, and even my first wife, who was an English teacher, to this day she still does not speak the level of English that I speak in Cantonese. And when we separated, she moved back to the US, and to this day she still does not speak that same level because she's not going about, and many students in Hong Kong are going through this, and very few of them are escaping this. They're learning language the wrong way. That's all I can say. So, the hero's journey. This is again, my students are the heroes. Your kids are the heroes, and this is their journey. So we have their obstacle, learning the language. They have a mentor with a good tool, that's me. And I've taken TPRS to the next level, which is using my favorite role-playing game. It's not the only one. There are others that are even easier. But I have spent a lot of time making this game easy to pick up and learn, because it's not about understanding how to play the game. Its key point is understanding how to tell and make a story together. And then the students start to learn more than just English. They're not just learning language anymore once they start playing games like this. Okay? Now, again, there's a little information here about D&D, and it's today it's in its fifth edition, and it's become very popular. Last Tuesday, I went through the way that I learned to play Dungeons and Dragons back in 1985 when I first started playing the game, and I'm going to continue that broadcast. That story's not over yet. It's going to go over for the next couple Tuesdays. Maybe not next Tuesday because I probably have to be filming a movie that night. But that story, there's a lot more to come to it. And for my students, I've tested it with kids. I'm ongoing teaching adults. I've made a version of the game that's easy to pick up so that we start telling stories. They start talking and learning English. Okay? How does this method help your kids learn English? We're introducing vocabulary naturally. Now, we're in a fantasy environment. Not everything that the kids are going to say are going to be, I know this it's a little bit early for a live session, but this is the regular time that I've set for this live. It's 6:30. The Friday is 6:30. The Tuesday is 10 o'clock at night. And I've been doing the Facebook Live at this time for about 3 months now. So it's okay. It will be available offline afterwards, but thank you for interacting with me. I really appreciate your leaving comments. Okay. And if you think that this presentation will help somebody, please share this post to them, whether it be through Facebook or through YouTube after the presentation is finished. Okay. So one of the most difficult parts of English to learn is prepositions. And in gameplay like this, they're going to start to pick up prepositions very quickly. Very few students have I seen pick up this skill easily through traditional grammar book methods. But with this method, I make it easy. Okay? And the kids are comfortable. They're having fun. There are many studies showing that when children are too stressed, thank you for sharing. When students are stressed out, their brains start to shut down a little bit. They don't learn. When they're stressed out, when they're bored, they don't learn as well. I keep this in a very exciting storytelling environment. So the kids are their minds are going to be focused and going. It works really well. Okay. Now, beyond English and language learning skills, they're learning how to solve problems. Every adventure, every lesson, students are faced with a series of problems. They have to solve first they're given a challenge. Then the first part of the challenge is they have to solve a puzzle. Then they get past the puzzle and there may be either some type of social interaction where they have to communicate with a monster or an NPC, a non-player character. That term's more common now because of role-playing computer games than it was when I was a kid, but I just want to be sure for any of you who don't play computer games to understand what I'm talking about. And because the kids they don't have all the same character, they have to learn to work together. Some are strong, some will be a strong fighter. One will be a weak magic user, but its magic can be very powerful, like a wizard. There's someone in the party who's good at sneaking around and picking locks and disarming traps. And then you have a healer in the party. You know, the basic RPG computer game roles. They don't have to all be those roles, but the cool thing about this over playing a computer game is that there's no limits on the solutions that the kids can come up with. The only thing that changes the outcome of the story is when we throw in a little bit of dice. And the most iconic of this game is the 20-sided dice. Let me pull one out here to show you. So let's get that up on the camera. So that's our 20-sided dice. And throughout the story, when there's a chance that something could go wrong, something could fail, students will roll the dice and find out if their attempt was successful or not. This is used when they're fighting monsters, when they're trying to jump over a river, they're trying to climb up a mountain, anything like that. The dice, and that brings also a lot of fun and excitement into the game as well. Okay, now this is the outline that I've come up with for the course. Okay. This price, okay, I have it right now initially designed for about 8 classes. Although for my summer camp, I'm going to be offering a package of 12 classes. And there's specific goals for each lesson through the first 8 lessons. And once they've gotten used to how everything works, they know how their character works, they know how to play the game, they know how to do their homework. I give homework in this class. There's writing assignments, because practicing writing is another very important way to build your language skills. Because of the comeback in the pandemic, I'm doing this online. Now that means I don't have to pay rent. I do have other expenses, so I am going to offer this course right now at $3,800 per student for the whole course of 12 lessons. $3,800. I may have another added benefit if 2 students come in together. I need to design that post, and I'll post that after I design it tomorrow. But I'm not going to post a schedule. It's going to be first come, first served. I do group the kids in different age ranges because I've noticed that in these 3 age ranges, 7 to 9, 10 to 12, and 13 to 15, there's a lot of things going on in their life that are very similar, and so they will have more in common. Also, what they've been learning in their English level is different. Although kids I was teaching in Causeway Bay, many of them were there, even though their English level was way above the normal grade level they're at school. Still, the way they think, what they're experiencing in life is very similar. So I'm going to stick with these ages. Okay, moving on past lesson 9. Like I said, the kids will be continuing to develop their character. And I've found a combination to do this online using Zoom, which many students have gotten very familiar with over the last few months. Before February, online education in Hong Kong was almost non-existent. Everybody's used to it now. And I'm going to make it fun. Your kids are going to have fun in this class. And you know that for that hour and a half, they're on the Zoom call with me and a few other students. It'll be 2 to 6 students in one group. They're going to be having fun. Now, some of the parts I'm going to simplify because there's some things that will be too hard to explain online. For example, the World Anvil part, and I won't be able to give out a 20-sided dice to each student at the end of the course unless by the end of August things have lightened up a little bit and we can have a final party or final performance for parents, which is something that I have planned all along. We'll see how that goes, and I'll make that announcement at that time, and then I will also be giving something to the students. And it's something, though, that moving forward, it's not just this summer camp, something that it's a hobby they can develop, a good, healthy hobby for them to develop for the rest of their life. When I first started teaching this class, I came up with this idea 5 years ago. I started teaching it about 3 years ago. And when I had my first secondary school level students, I noticed that, well, these kids I was teaching, they were getting ready to go to school in the US. That was their primary focus. And so one of the benefits is they were going to go with one more skill under their belt to make friends, good friends, when they're over in a new country, new world. Now, yeah, 2 to 6 in one group is perfect. Other than that, it's too hard to control. So that's about the average range. And although I am still trying to build a community. There's a small role-playing game community in Hong Kong, and I'm trying to build that even larger because people have gone to, in the last year or two, have gone to the level of taking this game to help solve emotional problems in students. Got students with severe emotional issues, and by playing this game, they're able to make a breakthrough because they get to pretend to be someone they're not, and they discover ways to deal with their emotional pain playing this game. It's really cool, the potential applications. Okay, all right. So that is everything that I wanted to show. I'm going to show you one thing. So this is an This is one of the online tools that I will be using to help the students. This is a character sheet. Now, last week I went to some of the role-playing communities in Hong Kong. They have a couple of Facebook groups, and I went and I asked them, what are the biggest challenges you have introducing this game to new players? And one of the first things they said was that people see this character sheet and they're like, oh no, that's just too much information. And so funny enough, last year when I started preparing these courses for adults, I thought the same thing. I thought, wow, this is kind of complicated. How can I simplify it? But in April and May, when I was testing this with my kids in Kowloon Bay, they had no problem. It was easy for them to understand. I told them the 6 attributes, hit points, armor class. I do have a simplified version of this, but because we're doing it online and I'm using Zoom, I wanted to give them one thing that's very important that they can see, which is I push a button and it rolls a dice, and they know. So obviously through Zoom I'm going to have to be pushing the buttons for them, but I've been using this same formula for the last 2 to 3 months. Every Wednesday night, starting at 2 a.m. Hong Kong time, I play one-on-one with a very famous game master, guy, who has a channel called How to Be a Great GM. So we started when the US and the UK were starting to shut down and social distance themselves, and people couldn't play this game. He came up with this idea to show people, and I had already been working on it, so he asked me to come and be his player. And the one-to-one show has been very successful. So this week we extended the part of me role-playing with him to an hour and a half. And if you followed my YouTube channel, you'll see that I try to take parts of those sessions with him, and I throw in a cartoon character to give some commentaries on what's happening in Cantonese as a kind of a crutch to learn more about the game. But it's a very, very entertaining game. The fan base has built up quite well. I mean, he has a huge fan base already, but I was just looking at the comments from the last session, and people were very excited in their seats and ready to go at the 5-minute mark before the show started, getting ready to see what adventures we would get into that night. So, okay, that's a lot longer than I normally go for my Friday broadcast, but I had a lot of information that I wanted to share with you all to let you know about this course. Please, if you have any comments, reach out through me through Facebook. Reach out through me through let's see, the Patreon. Okay, the Patreon doesn't have my email address. I should have changed this to the email address. But I'm available through email. I'm available through Facebook. Leave comments on YouTube. Let me know what you want to see. Let me know how interested you are in this course, and we'll get this going. Normal, I was planning going on 6 weeks for this, but I hope to start classes the week after next. So, just because I'm moving apartment again next week, and I've got to film for 3 days. So I'm a little bit busy next week, but the week after that, I'm good to go and ready to get classes started. So please leave me a message. Let me know if you're interested. If you think you have friends or know of kids that would enjoy this class and it would be useful to them, please share it with them. Look forward to hearing from you, and we'll see you all back in Cantonese next Tuesday night at 8 p.m. Bye-bye.